Do you know, when we look at ourselves in real time, we tend to have a better perspective on our state of mind at the time. To continue on with my stories, and back in my mind, and I have a sharp mind, there was a gentleman. Not going to call him a gentleman, that's yet to be determined, but was this person or individual intentional? Absolutely. Because if you do listen to your seventh and eighth sense, you know when people have an ulterior motive. Now, what gets confusing is that when you do not step back and filter the incident at the moment, you tend to, or for the most part, not saying all, this is my opinion, you tend to jump to conclusions. And that's what I did yesterday when I was shopping at Costco. I jumped to conclusions. And I lost my gas, I really did. But the one person that was able to get to me and egg me on was a complete stranger. Now, I had indicated that at the moment I didn't realize or didn't put the face to the person until after the fact, because at that moment in time, of course, judgment was clouded. So my point being, this person I recognized later on, and as I said, back in August, we have had an issue with encroachment on the property for over 8 years, which is in the courts right now, continuingly in the courts. And honestly, 8 years for something that was intentional, the only thing that would constitute that type of time lag is somebody with money. You know, because as they say, money is power. But in actuality, money is a destructive power. You know, it could be used for good. Something like Elon Musk does. He does all this good work when it comes to money. And that's integrity. So I have nothing but praise for Mr. Elon Musk. But to the point of this insurrectionist, because that seems to be a tag name or tag line going around since, what is it, July 6th or June 6th of last year in the States or whatnot. So anyways, back in August, there was a construction vehicle and trailer with a lift pull up in front of our house and in front of our property, right on Broadway. And I recognized the business because I've had to deal with them for encroachment purposes in the past. They are unaware of, I'm certain they're unaware of the fact that there is an encroachment, and they're just they're embodying the encroachment more so than they realize, I think. But a very simple practicality. The building next door had old eavesdropping fascia, I guess it is. It's the old tin kind of crown molding that you find in older buildings, especially in Winnipeg and I'm sure around the world. And we had some pretty heavy windstorms last year, and it being so old, they basically were hanging off the building. And this is the same building that encroached on our property back in 2014. Without being concerned about a neighborly deed or a neighborly respect. They didn't come to the owner and ask permission to go onto the property. So that, in Canadian terms, is trespassing. And you can't trespass on property if you don't have permission. That's the law. Or is it an interpretation of the law, depending on who has the money and who can, pay off the people in power that might have an influence on the directive at the time. Irregardless, as a neighbor, and I knew that this was going to be an issue, and I was going to make it an issue because, once again, we have this same company trying to trespass on our property without permission and without any grace or granted access. Now, when it comes to encroachments and trespassing, everything below the ground and everything above the ground is property owned by the land title, one who holds the land title. And I'm not a specialist, but I know this just as fact. So when I had indicated, I said to them directly, I says, I would not recommend you trespass on our property to fix this eavesdroff, or molding, whatever it was. And they were pretty persistent, of course, again, being persistent. We're going to do it regardless. And I said, okay, fine. I will start recording. I will start videotaping. I had warned them ahead of time. And I basically gave them the option to either get permission or get off the property. So, as a good neighbor, and to avoid any conflicts, I made a call to our 311. And I indicated that there's a encroachment in process. They didn't get permission. There may be issues and there may be a problem. It may cause some rather unpleasant activity. And I said, so respectfully, I would like the police to know ahead of time that this could become a conflict and people's lives may be, in conflict. And it's only because I had made mention of the conflict or that there's a potential for conflict that the police would be engaged. Short time later, we get a call. We get a car, or parked down the street, and two officers walking up along the sidewalk in front of this construction blockage on Broadway, and they're blocking the sidewalk so people couldn't even pass. And they're asking me what the problem is. So I basically caught them up to what was going on, indicating there's an encroachment here. It's been in the courts for 8 years and they have no permission. So I would like you, as officers, to protect my rights on our property. Well, they wouldn't have it because they automatically went on the defense and indicate to me that we're not the enemy here. And I basically said, I understand you're not the enemy here. I know half my family are police officers. But the point being, even though you have a great deal of people in your own family who are police officers, you're still treated like dirt. That's a family issue. But needless to say, this encroachment warranted the superintendent, or I guess the supervisor officer, to also come to the scene. And it's very simple. This is an encroachment. This is trespassing. They did not get permission. So you're supposed to protect my rights. So I would like you to tell them that they can't cross. Well, it becomes a debate now because they step aside, they go and have their conversation, or they went to go talk to whoever they needed to talk to, and they come back and it's like, well, look, this is not an encroachment, this is not trespassing, blah, 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 blah. And I said, honestly, I said, it is a classic, absolutely classic trespass. Considering that, again, we've been in courts for 8 years over this situation. And at our expense, yet they're the ones that tried to file a complaint against us, yet they are the ones who encroached on the property. They didn't have egress, for one, and they couldn't get it unless they talked to us directly and, had a discussion. Well, that didn't happen because they had known this intention all along, and it now is in the courts and has been for 8 years. Now, a little bit of an update on that same one. The owners of this building, and several buildings across the city from what I understand, indicated to me and to my lawyer team that they're selling the building or selling the property. And I'm thinking, okay, why is it or how is it that something that's been in the courts for the last 8 years, what gives them the right to sell the property when there is an encroachment on the property? Well, to me, that just tells me it's a cop-out, because they're taking the cop out because they're guilty. Simple as that. Nobody goes through that kind of trouble unless they're guilty. So we're not guilty. They are. So now we've been engaged that, or been informed that the property is up for sale or is in the process of being sold. And it was funny, just the other day, which was the 16th, 11 o'clock, I was driving my partner to work, and they had taken down the sign of the management company from the building across the street, which is also owned by the building next door to us. And I believe I think his comment was, oh, I own 110 buildings. I don't know which one you're talking about. Kind of arrogant response, but needless to say, who am I to judge, right? Now, instead of getting and going on a tangent about what's wrong in the legal system, what has been delayed in the legal system, who is the ones being under assault because of the legal system, is the innocent. That's us. You and I. Well, I can't speak for you, but I can speak for myself, my company. I can speak on those terms. Well, with regards to Costco and yesterday and me losing my gas, that same individual was there that day. They were egging on that day in August of last year, the police, the workers, and the people around them. They were egging on, trying to, berate myself, my company, our property. And where do you think all that comes around? I mean, everything comes full circle. There is no getting away from it. Just for an example, the planet is round, so there's nowhere you can run or hide because everything is full circle. Get it? Got it? Good. That's where I recognize the guy from. And so that's a year ago, and this is now, well, maybe about 6 months later, and this individual has been stalking my company myself, who knows, maybe even my partner, everywhere we go, because they want to cause a disruption and try and make me lose my gas again. But now that we know the truth, and it's fairly evident where this is all coming from, because nothing is by circumstance or happenstance. I think that's one of the words they use, because the intentions have not stopped. The directive has not stopped. The reason for engagement has not stopped. The ulterior motive of this company next door and the people that have the means to hire these insertions or injections, whatever you want to call them, do it with intention. So what we need to realize as a society is that these individuals or these groups are very similar to what happened in the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa, up in Canada, is happening across the board, across the world. And the agenda, it's almost like a candle. It will continue to burn until the flame is blown out. But even after the flame is blown out, what do you think is going to be left behind? A blob of wax. So there's a residual effect that hampers society and hampers our growth, or our intentions. So once again, I'm Dominic Raphael, or DR, or you can call me the doctor, because I have signed in twice today. I've signed out twice today. And I have yet to sign in again. So, I'm Dominic Raphael. The doctor is signing out. And this is how it happens up in Canada. Nice fireplace, eh? It's electric. Very expensive, but very antique. Up in Canada, Dominic Raphael. Cheers.